Whitney, thank you. And today, the Florida Department of Health reported over 10,000 new positive COVID-19 cases and 29 new deaths. Now, that means the total number of cases statewide is more than 200,000. The total number of deaths in our state is 3,700. So taking a local look in Lee County, there are over 7,400 cases and 165 deaths. Charlotte County has over 900 cases and 76 deaths. Collier has over 5,000 cases and 85 deaths. In Hendry County, there's over 1,000 cases and 27 deaths. DeSoto has 748 cases and 10 deaths. And Glades has 179 cases and 1 death. So let's put these numbers into context. So many of you often say, what does this mean? Well, as we know, with more testing, we're likely to get more cases amidst a pandemic. So let's take a closer look at the number of tests that come back positive for coronavirus. Every day we get these numbers in our email from the Department of Health. That gives us an idea of the amount of tests that come back positive. It's the number of people who test positive for the first time divided by all tests. And it does not include people who previously tested positive. So look at these numbers. We spent some time today going back a few months, and you can see where the Florida Department of Health reported on April 5th that 11% of new cases tested were positive. Then a month later, that percentage lowered to 8%. Then the department reported 5%, and as of today, the percentage of new positive cases is 15%. Now, if you want to get tested, the coronavirus testing site at the Charlotte County Sports Park will reopen this week. It will be open on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8:30 to 11 in the morning. This is a drive-up site, so you'll stay in your car the entire time. Appointments are not required, but organizers say it just makes the testing process quicker if you make one. And the newest testing site in Cape Coral will also be open this week. You're going to need a doctor's note for that one, though. It's a partnership between the city and Lee Health, and it's going to be at the Chester Street Resource Center. It's going to be open Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays from 9 to 2, but this one is by appointment only. You can get tested in your car or you can walk up, but they do ask that you just wear a mask. And tomorrow, Cape Coral City Council will decide whether they're going to make masks mandatory. The vote was supposed to be made at the meeting that was held last Thursday, you might remember, but council rescheduled after Councilwoman Nelson had to leave the meeting, and that meant that there were not enough people present to vote. So if this mandate passes, people not wearing a mask could face up to a $250 fine.
No one person, law, or mandate can stop the spread of the virus. The actions of each and every one of us can ensure the safety of our families, our neighbors, and strangers alike.
Those are the words of Dr. Larry Antonucci of Lee Health. Now, the council will meet at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. Fox 4 is going to keep you updated. As a matter of fact, morning anchor Leaston Greenberg will be live at City Hall starting tomorrow morning for our broadcast, and you can trust Fox 4 to bring you coverage on that decision. You can also weigh in right now on our Facebook page. Lisa has a poll up there. If you just search Fox 4 on our Facebook page and weigh in, she'll bring you the results of that poll tomorrow on Fox 4 Morning News. Keep up on air, online, and in our app. Make sure you have your notifications on for that. Well, tonight, sad news to tell you about. We learned that 41-year-old actor Nick Cordero has passed away after a long battle with COVID-19. His wife made this announcement tonight on Instagram. Now, Cordero entered the intensive care unit in LA on March 31st. He'd been on a ventilator and he'd been unconscious after contracting coronavirus. Cordero's fight consisted of a leg amputation and multiple mini strokes while battling several other ailments. The actor played in Broadway's Woody Allen 1994 film adaptation of Bullets Over Broadway. He also played a role in the Broadway movies Waitress and A Bronx Tale, and many more. Well, Google is trying to help its users get around during the pandemic. The company has launched a new feature on Google Maps to help people navigate the areas most affected by the virus. So this feature notifies drivers about checkpoints down the road before they cross national borders. And you can also get alerts about local health restrictions on their routes. Public transportation riders can get information about mandatory face masks and other requirements. Now, while people who are on their way to a COVID testing site will get alerts about whether they are eligible for a test. Here in the United States, the driving and testing alerts are already up and running, so you can check those out. Well, coming up this week, the Lee County School District pandemic team will be meeting with the school board to discuss their plans. One board member tells us how you can help with that decision. And still ahead, saving the environment, why environmentalists sued to stop an $8 billion natural gas pipeline project. And still to come, 75 years. That's how long it's been since the end of World War II. How the veterans who are still alive say their lives have changed over time. Stone?
Well, we had a cloud cover, we had the rain, has some thunderstorms early, late, even right now. We'll talk about your Monday forecast when I come back.
What will school look like when it starts back in the fall? It's a question many people want an answer to. And tonight we have an important message from the Lee County School Board. Fox 4's Leslie Delaspore spoke with a board member who wants you to know it isn't too late to speak up about what you think should happen during the upcoming school year. Leslie?
Lee County schools are set to restart August 10th, but with some new plans in place, starting off with offering virtual classes for families, as well as set school days for middle school students who will only attend classes twice a week. However, this Wednesday, July 8th at 1 p.m., Lee County School Board members, along with the superintendent, staff, and the Reopen Task Force, will be holding a workshop to discuss reopening plans. Gwinnetta Gittens, Lee County School Board member representing District 5, says she will be bringing some questions to the table.
Some of the questions that I will ask on Wednesday will have to do with communication and feedback and, not just saying this is what we're going to do for your children, but asking them how they feel about it.
Gittens says her priority is to educate all 95,000 students inside the district.
And that means that we have to differentiate in some ways. So we need to hear from parents. We need to hear from the community.
Gittens tells me there's loads of information on the district's website, as well as their YouTube page, where parents can learn more about the future of their child's education and safety.
I beg people to watch, to listen, to participate, give your suggestions, because sometimes the best suggestions can come from the most unlikely place.
Excited for the future, Gittens wants to stress this is not an action meeting. No votes will be taken without the community's input.
It is a discussion to inform us, to let us know what's going on. This is clearly one of the superintendent and his staff's responsibility, and we're basically being updated on it.
In Cape Coral, Leslie Delaspore, Fox 4, in your corner.
Leslie, thank you. You can trust Fox 4 to keep you updated on what happens in that meeting. Well, starting tomorrow, Lee County business owners can apply for grants to help rehire employees laid off or furloughed during this pandemic. It's part of the Lee Cares program. Now, businesses and some nonprofits can get about $5,000 for each full-time employee rehired. Businesses receiving PPP may be eligible if their covered loan period has expired. Now, businesses need to have 250 or fewer employees, and that business owner has to be a Lee County resident. To apply, you can just go to leeflcares.com or just call the number on your screen. And if you're in Naples tomorrow, you're going to want to look out for the big red bus. Naples YMCA is teaming up with the One Blood to host a blood drive. It'll be at the Greater Naples YMCA. If you donate blood, you'll get a free COVID-19 antibody test and a free 4th of July t-shirt, a free $10 gift card, and a free wellness checkup. That is a whole lot of free. So if you're in Naples, you can stop by there tomorrow between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. And a heads up if you plan to use the small timber bridge at the entrance to Matlacha Community Park anytime soon. It'll be restricted to vehicles weighing 10 tons or less. That's starting tomorrow. Now, this is not expected to affect summer camp pickup or boat ramp use or most park patrons. As a recommendation after bridge inspections, the weight restriction will remain in place until that bridge can just get a few repairs. The Lee County Department of Transportation is creating a repair plan for that 26-foot bridge. Lee County government says the structure is safe. The weight restriction is just a precautionary measure. Stone?
Well, had some rain here, Southwest Florida, as expected, just north of downtown Naples. Over 1.25 inches of rain. Birdstor Village, 1.13. Rotunda, 1 inch of rain today. Pine Island, just under 1 inch. Sanibel, Northport, and Southwest Cape Coral picking up between 2/3 and 9/10 of an inch of rain. And the rain isn't over yet. In fact, Storm Shield Doppler radar showing you inland communities pretty much dry now, Moorhaven, Clewiston. But now we're starting to see some shower and thunderstorm activity come along the, looks like the Sarasota as well as Charlotte County coastline. Englewood toward Northport, that rain will be with you for the next 15-20 minutes. Downtown Northport, get ready in about 20 minutes. Port Charlotte looks like that rain's going to move off to your north. And central Pine Island, Matlacha, that'll be there for about 10-15 minutes. And portions of western Cape Coral, you'll see some of that rain in the next 15 minutes. But strong storm in, well, I should say offshore of Collier County, Marco Island. Sure, you hear the thunder. You'll be in the rain in about 10 minutes or so, about 75 lightning strikes the past 10 minutes. This thunderstorm should be in the Naples area in about 30 minutes or so. High temperatures today, 97 in Immokalee, 92 Fort Myers, enough sunshine to get in the 90s, 91 Punta Gorda and Naples at 92 degrees. Current temperatures are in the low 80s for the most part along the coast, mid 80s, southern coast, and upper 70s east of I-75. Still feels like 91 in Naples, 92 on Marco Island, but once that rain comes in, things will cool off quite a bit. So the forecast for tonight, scattering of showers and a few thunderstorms here and there. Temperatures really not cooling down all that much, around 78 degrees. And planning your Monday, that morning commute will feature scattered showers and storms, so you want to allow yourself a little extra time to get to work, and we could see a few showers and storms during the afternoon, mainly east of I-75, but still we'll have some coming in off the coast, much like they did on Sunday. So tomorrow's weather, to summarize it, much like Sunday, 91 degrees, mixture of sun and clouds, and a scattering of storms. Keep that in mind, boaters. South wind in the morning will shift more southwesterly late morning into the afternoon, right around 10 knots or so. Much drier, better boating and beach conditions on Tuesday, and the pattern is not going to change all that much. In fact, from Tuesday all the way into next weekend, we could see a couple of showers along the coast during the mornings, and eventually those showers migrate east of I-75. The hottest days, Wednesday and Thursday at 94 degrees and overnight lows in the upper 70s.
Well, coming up, from the popular song Run This Town to a tweet saying he'd like to run the country. All of the lights now on Kanye West's Twitter page. His big announcement coming up. You're watching Fox 4 News at 10. Well, the construction of an $8 billion natural gas pipeline that was supposed to span 3 states has been called off. Dominion Energy and Duke Energy say they're canceling the Atlantic Coast Pipeline project. Now, it was supposed to stretch across West Virginia, and North Carolina, but environmentalists sued to stop it. The company has won a victory from the Supreme Court, but they say the project no longer makes sense economically. Well, Kanye West says he's trusting God, and he is running for president of the United States. That's right, the rapper and producer announcing on Twitter that he's running for the country's top office in 2020. West tweeting in part, quote, "We must now realize the promise of America by trusting God, unifying our vision, and building our future." The Chicago native getting some high-tech support from Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who says he will support West in his run. West making a similar announcement for the White House in 2019, you might remember, but said he was going to run in 2024. It's not known if West already has a campaign staff. And the Trump campaign says it will hold a rally in New Hampshire next Saturday. It'll be at Portsmouth International Airport. Now, according to the event announcement, the campaign will provide masks and hand sanitizer to people who attend. Several members of Trump's team tested positive for coronavirus in conjunction with the rally in Oklahoma last month. Well, straight ahead, a governor orders nightclubs to close, but one of them remained open, and now 2 people are dead. That story coming up on Fox 4 News at 10.
Live from the station that's in your corner, you're watching Fox 4 News at 10.
And thanks for joining us for Fox 4 News at 10. I'm Shari Armstrong. The pandemic had many people across the United States celebrating the 4th of July at home. But despite the coronavirus, crowds still flocked to fireworks shows and beaches. Martin Savage reports.
As America celebrated her 244th birthday, public health officials pleaded with Americans to keep safe, noting the worst public health crisis in anyone's memory isn't going away. The numbers tell the story. Coronavirus infections are spreading like wildfire in 36 states, with Arizona, Texas, Florida, and California posting record infection rates this past week alone. Nationwide, the death toll is nearing 130,000, and almost 3 million people have been infected. So, for this weekend anyway, the hope was that Americans would be mindful and avoid large crowds to help prevent COVID spread. Well, the results seem to be a mixed bag. On the National Mall in Washington, D.C., the 4th of July crowd size did appear to be much smaller than in years past. Even so, few of the spectators watching the grand fireworks show from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial were donning masks. At the White House, the President and First Lady hosted a 4th of July event on the lawn, and there too, little sign of social distancing or masks in use. In New York City, which was hard hit by the coronavirus spread early on, the show did go on. New York, New York. But city officials were hopeful many revelers would watch the spectacular fireworks show from home. Meanwhile, video footage from North Carolina's Outer Banks, Alabama's Orange Beach, and California's Manhattan Beach all showed people putting safety to the side in favor of a little fun in the sun.
I'm not necessarily concerned. It's not more about the partying, it's about celebrating America.
I'm very afraid for coronavirus, so I'm here far for other people.
Health officials are quick to point out the current surge followed similar public behavior over the long Memorial Day weekend. The fear now is the surge may only get worse, and once again we may see hospitals overwhelmed with patients.
A lot to talk about in the tropics. First of all, tropical depression number 5. They haven't pulled the trigger to make this one a tropical storm. That's good news. Oh, they just did. Look at that. It actually updated real time. Okay, so like I figured, they would put a name on this storm, Edouard, even though it's really not looking all that good. It's moving so quickly at 35 miles per hour to the northeast. You can't even see a circulation. Maybe you can a little bit there, but the flare-up of shower and thunderstorm activity has increased. This will become extra tropical probably overnight. All right, another area we're watching in the Northeast Gulf. I mentioned this last night. Area of low pressure that's expected to move into the southeastern portions of the Atlantic. Not looking all that impressive now. And one last area, several hundred miles east of the Lesser Antilles. Again, this one does have a slight chance of development, but not going to affect here. So we will talk about our rain chances because we got a lot of rain on the way coming up.
Well, across the nation, some Americans spent their 4th of July a little different, like an 8-year-old boy from Pittsburgh. He spent the holiday advocating against racial injustice. As cars go by honking their horns in support, Andre Barron stood tall. This isn't new for the 8-year-old. He stands there with his sign several days a week outside of a pizza station. And Andre says taking a stand matters.
It's important because some black and brown people are dying for no reason. Because the color of their skin.
Color of that hair. All right, Andre. He says he got the idea from his mom, and Andre's big brother joined him too. But it's not just Andre's family. The community is supporting him. Black, white, young, and older.
To be a little boy and just to think that I want to grow old and I want to live, I can't imagine desiring that at that age. And that's something that he's going through, and I want him to live. I want him to grow old. And so I stand behind him and everybody else on that. It's the minimum.
And as the horns honk and drivers yelled encouragement, as you saw there, Andre says he feels the support to keep standing for himself and others. Well, a large group of protesters, see that right there? They took down that statue of Christopher Columbus and threw it into a harbor during a demonstration in Baltimore. In this video, as you see here, the statue can be actually heard. You can't hear it, but you actually can hear it if you play it online, breaking into several pieces as it crashes to the ground. The person who took this video says there were at least 300 people there. Their protest reportedly started in downtown Baltimore before the crowd marched to that site and tore the statue down. There is no word of any arrest at this time. And authorities say one person has died after a man plowed through a group of people protesting on a highway. The incident happened early Saturday morning in Seattle. Now, investigators say protesters used vehicles to block off a highway there. They tell us the suspect drove around those cars and allegedly drove onto the shoulder of the freeway where there were some protesters standing. While some were able to jump out of the way, 2 women were hit. Officials say 24-year-old Summer Taylor died at the hospital from her injuries. The second victim, 32-year-old Diaz Love, remains in serious condition. The 27-year-old suspect, who hasn't been named by authorities, was arrested. And 2 people died early this morning in a South Carolina nightclub shooting. Police in Greenville County say deputies were investigating a disturbance at the club when they heard gunshots. The officers says they did not fire their weapons. At least 8 people were hurt and taken to the hospital, and some are in critical condition. Investigators say a very large crowd had been in that club despite the governor's order to have nightclubs closed during this time.
Inside the club, there's a small stage where some artist or group was performing. Everything's turned over. There's a few chairs in there. There's food on the floor, some bottles busted. You can tell somebody left in a hurry. There is some pretty large amounts of blood in various parts of the club.
The sheriff says no one has been arrested, but they have found some information on a suspect. Well, still to come, a quarter-century milestone. 75 years later, 2 veterans look back on time served during World War II. The major difference in the cockpit, one pilot says he never dreamed would happen. That's coming up on Fox 4 News at 10. Well, we can't deny it, 2020 is a historical year, and it also marks 75 years since the end of the war that reshaped the world. Fox News anchor Brett Baer speaks with veterans who made history in World War II.
They are among the last surviving voices of the Second World War.
I never thought that I'd have the chance to actually train and become a pilot, but World War II came along.
Every word I'm going to tell you, there's no make-believe or anything. And whether you like it or not, it's going to be the truth.
The stories of these 2 veterans and others are chronicled in National Geographic's coverage of the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II in their June 2020 issue. That quarter-century milestone is being celebrated across the globe, from a military parade in Moscow's Red Square to celebrate the victory over Nazi Germany, to multiple commemorations this year at D.C.'s Memorial to the War on the National Mall. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs estimates that about 300,000 American World War II veterans are still alive. Yet with that number declining every year, capturing their stories is more critical than ever. Harry Stewart served with the Tuskegee Airmen. Just 10 of the famed Tuskegee Airmen remain today.
Just felt as though I was meant to be in an airplane. I got so it felt as though the aircraft was an extension of my body. I felt as though my arms were the wings.
He says he wants the Tuskegee Airmen to be remembered as good citizens who helped protect their country during a time of need, even in the face of discrimination.
It was quite a thing because people had wondered, well, these guys had been segregated all the time, and, you know, how do they fly? Are they good pilots, you know? The answer is yes. Yeah.
After post-war budget cuts forced Stewart out of the Air Force, he was denied a position as a commercial pilot with Pan American and Trans World Airlines because of his race.
When I got out of the service, I applied